Hey everybody, it's Mr. Corfage, giving you a little live listen recap for Monday the 19th. So our learning target today was I can analyze the colonists' response to British laws and taxes. Now, truthfully, we didn't get into any of the laws and taxes, and we didn't really get into the colonists' response to the British laws and taxes. This is going to be something that we're going to be talking about for several class periods. This is the lead up to the Revolutionary War, when the British passed a bunch of laws uh, that were trying to get a lot of money from the colonists. And the colonists had an understandable reaction to that is that they got mad and they protested and they did a bunch of stuff. They did not like these new laws that Great Britain had passed, these new taxes that Great Britain had passed. And the reason Great Britain passed those laws and passed those taxes was because essentially they were trying to get a bunch of money back because they spent so much money on the French and Indian War, and they thought that the colonists were, well, I don't want to say they thought that they were, but they blamed the colonists for being responsible for that war, which is an interesting take. Um, Essentially, though, they blamed the colonists and they thought, oh, well, since the colonists were at fault for what happened in the French and Indian War, which is not true, then we'll just charge the colonists and we'll start taxing them a bunch and we'll get a bunch of money from them. Now, like I said, we didn't get into any of those laws or taxes today because today was kind of a trickery. I played a little trick on people. And what I did was I showed them this letter that was supposed to be from JCPS, but it's fake. It is a fake letter. I'm just upfront with you guys about this now. If you were in class today, I played along with it a little bit, but from the live lesson recap perspective, this was fake. You can see up here, this is not real. I made this up. This is completely fake. But I want you to imagine for your assignment, I want you to imagine that this letter was real. So I'm going to ask that you kind of read over it. There's some fees and charges in this fake letter that JCPS was going to be charging all students. Again, not real, not real, not real. Please don't pretend it's real. Please don't act like it's real. Don't interpret it as real. It is fake. But I want you to imagine it was real and how you would react to that. Because I believe that your reaction to this would have been very similar to how the colonists reacted to all of these laws that Great Britain was passing on them and all these taxes that Great Britain was passing on them. They believed it was unfair. They didn't feel like they should be able to kind of tax them or charge them for these things. They didn't feel like they had any authority over them to do that. And so I'm trying to draw a parallel or a metaphor for your feelings to how the colonists felt as a result of these laws that they ultimately passed. Once again, not real, not real, not real. I want to make sure we understand that. So you have an assignment based off of your reactions to these letters, to this letter. It's called protesting the fake JCPS policy. So you have the option of working with a partner if you want to. I'll go over that in just a second, but you do not have to. It's just an option for you. So there are two pieces to this that you can work on a partner with. The first is this JCPS guidelines protest. And this is a graphic organizer. This is where you and your partner, if you choose to have a partner, are going to fill out these four boxes based off of your response to this letter. And again, you are pretending that this letter is real and how would you react to it. So after you've read the letter, I just want you to summarize in this box kind of what it says. What is the ultimate overall purpose of that letter? And what are some specific things that it says? It says you can use quotes, you can pull quotes from the letter, but you must give me a summary in your own words in this box. Second letter is how did it make you feel? Did it make you feel sad, angry, upset, whatever? Give me an emotion that it made you feel and explain kind of why that emotion came about as you were going over that letter. Again, pretend it's real. How would you feel if this were a real letter? And then this is the most important part is what would you do to get GCPS to change its policy? And this is kind of organizing some sort of protest. Um, we see protests going on right now in our world, in our city, all across our country, related to um, racial identity and systemic racism. And we see people out there protesting daily. And they're not out there just to say, hey, we're mad about this. No, the overall goal of any protest is to communicate something to the people who make decisions. And in the case of our, Breonna Taylor protests or racial injustice protests all across the country, they are trying to get people, the governments of these areas, whether it's the country or the city or the state, to make some changes that can address these perceptions of racial injustice and systemic racism. They're out there trying to get, in the case of Louisville, they're trying to get the cops who shot Breonna Taylor charged with crimes. They're trying to get the city of Louisville to make changes to the way they police. The whole goal is to get people in charge to make changes to their policies. So, what could you do as a form of protest to communicate to JCPS that you're not going to stand for these fake policy changes and taxes and charges and fees and whatnot? What could you do? Organize a bunch of people to get together to communicate to them that you're not going to stand for it. What could you do that would actually get them to make a change and take back those charges? And then lastly, I want you to think about some ways that maybe you could suggest to JCPS some alternative ways that they can make money besides charging their students for their education, which, by the way, is completely illegal. We can't do that. It's public education. And then you're going to create a Google Drawings, and I'll go over that very quickly with you, to basically create like an online virtual protest poster. When you see people out there protesting now, they've got signs they're holding over their heads, or they're holding in front of their bodies, or maybe they're holding them up on a stick that communicate a message that summarizes their thoughts without them having to say a word. And I want you to kind of create kind of a virtual protest poster, but yours is going to be a little more kind of in depth than just some words. So on your poster, you should have a slogan, just a kind of a catchy phrase that kind of is big and bold and upfront. And the first thing people see when they see your poster should be your slogan that communicates your message very clearly, but is also kind of catchy. Some of them rhyme. I'll show you some examples. Some of them don't, whatever. You need images in your poster. You need multiple images that kind of flow back directly to your message. You need at least one paragraph that kind of summarizes your thoughts and ultimately what you want to accomplish in your message, and what your call to action is, what you want people to do. Some other things that you could put in your poster that you should address, at least a couple of these things, are kind of how it made you feel, why you think it's right or wrong, how you're going to protest, and maybe some other fundraising ideas. If you notice, that's basically all of this stuff. This is your graphic organizer, so you can kind of organize your thoughts, and your poster is what kind of the final product is going to be that's taking all of these things into account. I'm going to show you a couple quick examples of what people have done in the past when I've done this assignment. You are not supposed to pull directly from these, but this is maybe it can show you kind of final product examples. You're not allowed to use their slogans, you're not allowed to use their words, but you can kind of see what they've done and get some ideas from it. So here's one that I think is really, really solid. It's pretty much a perfect poster. Their slogan here is "Gonna dash if we gotta pay the cash." They're basically suggesting that they're just not going to come to school. They're going to leave JCPS, or they're not going to come to school if you force them to make these payments. And all of their images on here kind of relate right back to this. They've got a bunch of money that they're throwing away, making it rain, if you will. They've got this anti JCPS fees. They've got a little angry emoji. They've got this Incredibles dude, like basically kind of darting away from the schools, and they've got JCPS fees going out the door here. So all of their images kind of communicate the same thing that their slogan is communicating. So that's perfect. That's great. They've got some other paragraphs here that are addressing all of the things that I've asked them to do. You do not have to have all of these words on here. These guys went above and beyond, in my opinion, but just kind of see how it's constructed, and I think it's pretty informative. Another one that I think was really good, they've got multiple slogans on here. We need to be educated. This doesn't make sense. Why make us spend all of our cents? Paying money for learning, we'll put up a fight. It's not our responsibility, it's our right. Those are fantastic slogans. They're a bit wordy. I don't think you need to have that many words in your slogan. And I would argue that one thing that they did, where they kind of put this JCPS protest kind of front and center. So that's the first thing you see. I prefer your slogan be the um, biggest text on here. They've got images that are relating back to what their slogans are. They've also got their paragraphs down here. And I think this looks great. It's a really nice looking piece. So that's kind of the idea of your protest poster. Now, I've given you this. This is on a program called Google Drawings. It's This is just a blank canvas. You can do whatever you want to. You notice that both of these have completely different backgrounds. You're welcome to be as creative as you want to in this. I'm just giving you this blank piece. If you want to change the background, you can just right click on it, go to background, change the background to whatever color you want it to be. It doesn't matter to me. You can add images just like you would on a Google Slides where you search for the web, wanted to add, let's say I wanted a football field as my background for whatever reason. I can add that as my background, or as my image. I can make it my background. I can add text by using the text box feature and dragging a big text box over here and a bunch of text that way. You can format it however you want to. If you want it to be bold and colorful, you can change the color. You can make it bold, however you want to do. So basic mechanics of Google Drawings, pretty simple. The last thing I'll say, I told you could work with a partner on this if you choose to. You have to identify that on your own. If you want to work with a partner, that's perfectly fine. It has to be from your class. So you communicate that however you want to, text each other, figure out how you want to do that. But to work on the same document, just in case you're unaware, you just click this share button and then you type in their email address in here. It has to be the email address of their JCPS email address. So it has to end with that stu stu.jefferson schools US, and then of course their first name, last name, or whatever it is. You need to talk to each other to figure out each other's email addresses. Once you've done that, then you can click send, and it will send that to them. So you can do that for this, and you can do that for this assignment as well. And the only thing that I ask of you is that you put a private comment in your Google Classroom saying, I worked on this assignment with blank, and whoever that person is. All right. Any questions, let me know. Private comment, email, call, whatever you need to do, and I will see you guys on Wednesday.